In this video, I want to show you 5 things I would have liked to learn in the very beginning of my guitar playing career. I didn't do so, I had to learn those things afterwards, and this was pretty rough in some situations. And I want you to learn those things so you can start through as a beginner way better than I did. Let's start with thing number 1. It's about how hard you push your strings, or how hard you push down a certain note when you're playing it. For beginners, this is mostly a thing about chords. You're doing something very unnatural you've probably never done before in terms of building up pressure in a very tiny space, and you use so much power to build up a chord that after a couple of minutes your hand feels like shaking, and it might even hurt because you're pushing too hard. And I want to give you an exercise where you can learn how much pressure you actually need. If we stick to this G chord, for example, it actually doesn't need that much to play, or to make this chord sound good. So take one finger, just a middle finger for example, on the 3rd fret of the E string, and then don't build up any pressure at all. Then you build up a little bit more. And then there it is. That's not hard hitting. This is pretty soft here. Beginners tend to do something like this. You can see my hand is kind of like cramping. And you can detune. Even when you're pushing too hard, then you might sound not very good. When you're pushing too hard, you detune your strings by... So don't use that much power while playing. You try to, not enough, to build up enough pressure to make it sound. Then you go to the next string, do the same. Open D and G string, and 3rd fret B string, and then 3rd fret E string. I know this becomes harder the more fingers you have to use in a chord. This is just an example, okay? Another tip is grab and this is actually something nobody ever told me before I went to music college. Quite embarrassing. When the teacher first told me, why do you grab the chord there? I was like, I don't know, I always did. Grab with your fingers the chords, or the notes actually, as close to the frets as possible. If you're looking at the G chord, this is the better version. And if it played there, this is not good. This is way harder to create. You have to build up way more pressure than here. Wow, this is relaxing. You get the idea. Just be focused on something like this when you're a beginner. Then there is the capo, thing number 2. Tiny little but very helpful thing to play those good old open chords everywhere. What's a capo for actually? As I said before, open chords, which means chords where we have open strings going on with, sounds often nicer than playing bar chords. And there are tons of songs out there that are written with a capo. Classic. So a capo is a very cool thing to play certain songs, but don't get me wrong, when I was a beginner, I sometimes faked through songs by using a capo because I was like, I cannot play that very chord. For example, an F sharp minor chord, which is actually this. So let me use a capo so I can just use my good old 4, 5, or 6 open chords, and I don't have to learn like the F sharp bar chord. Don't let the capo prevent you from gaining more experience and learn new stuff, because I actually witnessed some of my offline students do that, and even myself when I was a beginner or intermediate beginner, that I used the capo to fake around certain difficult, or at that time difficult, things like bar chords. Understand that a capo and what's behind that is when you use a capo, you shift up the chords up the neck and that the tonality changes. As I said before, just learn that when you're grabbing that E minor shape, having a capo on the first fret, this is not an E minor anymore, this is an F minor. Then capo second fret, as I said before, this is an F sharp minor, E minor shape, but with the capo on the second fret, this becomes an F sharp minor. Third fret, G minor, G sharp minor, A minor, A sharp minor, and so on. And if you only learn the notes on the very first two strings here, like the E and the A string, you will become a way better player because you get a better overview over the guitar and where the notes are. This is really important, at least even if you're a beginner, learn the notes on the E and the A string so you can finally name a chord still while you're playing with a capo. You know what I mean? That you know that this is a C minor because the capo is in the third fret and you're playing an A minor shape. You might know that when you're playing a normal A minor, the root is the open A string. And when I put the capo on the third fret, we have like A sharp, B, C. So capo third fret with an A minor shape is a C minor chord sounding. Just try to learn that and don't avoid that. This will make you a way better player in general. Thing number 3 is kind of connected to that. It's theory. And I don't talk about jazz theory, complex stuff. Don't run away, please. It's not rocket science. I always made a big turn around theory for the first years of my musical career. I always had like notes in my songbooks written, grab it in the whatever fret or whatever, because I didn't want to learn the actual notes. But just try to understand what you're actually already doing. For example, when you're playing your C major chord, there's a C major scale. That there are actual scales that belong to every chord. And don't be too afraid of that because they repeat themselves over the neck. When you have a shape for a C major, for example, it's the same for C sharp major, D major, D sharp major. It's always the same shape, kind of like with the capo thing, but no faking there. This is the cool thing about the guitar. You can just shift up scales and they're always the same. A piano player always has to learn a new finger set for a C and then for a C sharp major scale, always different finger shape. So try to learn those kind of like first steps of theory, or that you have a triad and understand what a triad is when you're grabbing your C major chord. A triad kind of like implements that it's 3 notes. It's C, E, and G. C, E, and G, that are the notes. And then we have a C, the first fret of the B string, and an E. So a C major chord soup consists out of the ingredients C, E, G, C, E. So 3 different notes, C, E, and G. And if we're going to 7 chords, those mostly consist out of 4 different notes. For example, if you lift up your index finger, we have a 7th chord because it's a C major 7. Because we have now our C, E, open G string, and the open E string, but we also added the B string, the open B string, which gives us a 4 ingredient C major 7 soup. Just so you understand what's behind all those chord symbols. When there is a 7 or a major 7, that you understand, okay, this chord consists out of 4 different notes. This is something really important to also gain more overview over the fretboard, and that you understand what's behind triads and 7 chords and so on. Thing number 4, which I wish would have known or would have done as a beginner, is to play with others. Play in a band, play in a duo, get into contact with other crazy guitar players, or not so crazy guitar players, but people who love playing music, because you will learn so much from them, especially when they are better than you are. But also if you're playing together with someone who's might be even not as good as you are, this will bring you into the position of being a teacher yourself. You might teach that person something you already know, and this will help you gain knowledge and get things going even better than before. But this is so important. But don't be afraid. I know this can be frightening when I say play in a band. Don't worry. I mean, you're already here. Leave a comment when you have a question for something under a video of mine and ask the community for help. Don't be afraid that you might ask a stupid question. There are no stupid questions, actually. There are Facebook groups. On YouTube you can interact with others. Whatever. Social media is perfect for this. There are forums. You name it. Then you might also get into contact at a music school with another player. Just jam along a little bit. And you might learn a new chord or whatever, and this is so cool, just a great feeling. My first band experience when I was a teenager, I learned at home for a couple of years. My dad showed me the first chords and stuff because he was a hobby guitar player. But at a certain age I was like, oh Dad, go away. I'm a teenager, go away. I finally, after I think 3 years or something, went to music school and they had a band. You had to go to a band. I was like, well, I don't know. And I went into that very first rehearsal and we sounded like really, we did. We sucked. We didn't sound good, but it was the best thing ever. And I still remember the phone call on the way home when I called my dad and said, Dad, this was one of the greatest experiences ever. I just learned so much from this whole situation in terms of playing, sound, communication with others. It was just awesome. And I think this is so important, and I wish I would have started with that earlier. That leads me to point number 5, which is often connected to all those things I just discussed. Find a teacher, find a structure. It can be an offline teacher. I mean, YouTube and stuff is great, and you can learn also a lot of stuff, for example, from me or all the other guys on YouTube. And I have courses which I sell actually, if you might have not known already, where I have like a structured plan for a certain topic. For beginners, for intermediates, for whoever. There's a lot of stuff I can teach you, but the thing is, the structure is so important. Someone who's like your mentor or something, this is so helpful. It might be just for a period of time until you get your own thing going in terms of a structured thing that you open up your mind for maybe different styles or whatever. This is so important. Get yourself a structure. It might be a YouTube channel. Maybe you're here every time I post a video, and this is great. Because when you just noodle around at home, this can be fine and this can be good. But I think if you don't go out there online or offline and search for the next level, for the next step with a certain structure, you will be lost and you will be stuck at a certain point. And this might be frustrating, and you might put your guitar aside and don't touch it anymore. So I recommend you go out there, offline, wherever. If you don't have a teacher near you, maybe you have another guitar player you can jam around with or whatever. You will learn something from him too. You ask him or her, how do you practice? What do you do? Go out. There are no excuses anymore today. I mean, when I was a teenager, there was the internet. I mean, it was there, but it was like tiny compared for what it is now. So go out, search for a teacher, search for other people, be open for things that might be difficult at first sight or might be frightening for whatever reason because it's too hard. Forget about all that. Be open for everything. And this is something I want to give to you because those were 5 examples for things I wish I would have done earlier. And I want you to prevent from doing the same mistake by not doing those things. So, thanks for tuning in, guys. And I hope you learned a lot here and are motivated now to pick up your guitar and do something great out there. Don't forget to check out my free lessons, which you find in the video descriptions. A lot of cool stuff going on there, a lot of music going on there. Check it out, and thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video. My name is Hannes. Take care. Bye.